52 years ago, civil rights activists, fed up with discriminatory policies and sectarian segregation, planned a days-long march for change. It was a peaceful demonstration until it wasn't. When protesters reached the bridge, their final destination, police threw on their helmets, they grabbed their shields as if they knew something no one else did. The peaceful marchers were ambushed by counter-protesters, beaten and bloodied with clubs and iron bars, many jumping into the freezing river for reprieve. The story probably sounds very familiar to most Americans, but this is not the story of Selma and the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It's not the story of the American civil rights movement. This is the story of Northern Ireland in 1969. Catholic nationalists marched from Belfast to the Burntallet Bridge in Derry, where they were met by a mob of pro-British Protestants who violently attacked the Catholic protesters, while British-backed police stood by and watched. This incident was no outlier. The Troubles were just beginning. They go back to 1921. The Catholic people of Ireland successfully broke free of British rule. Ireland was partitioned into two countries, the Republic of Ireland, which was almost entirely Catholic, and Northern Ireland, which was mostly Protestant, descendants of British colonists, with a Catholic minority that remained under British rule. Northern Ireland was divided along sectarian lines. The Catholic nationalists who wanted Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland to become one country, and the Protestant Unionists who favored Northern Ireland remaining part of the United Kingdom. The smaller community of Catholics that remained in Northern Ireland faced discrimination and unfair treatment by the government and by law enforcement. They were treated as second-class citizens. Most of the large employers were owned or controlled by Protestant Unionists. Many refused to hire Catholics. Protestants were often given preference when it came to housing, and Northern Ireland's education system was segregated along religious lines. This conflict sparked an explosive era of deadly political violence from the late 1960s through the 1990s. It was known as the Troubles, a time that was fraught with car bombs, riots, and revenge killings across Northern Ireland. British troops were called in only to make matters worse. An estimated 3,600 people were killed and 30,000 injured during those 3 decades of strife. Well, a solution came in 1998 with American help and the signing of the so-called Good Friday Agreement. The deal established a new government for Northern Ireland, representing both Protestant Unionists and Catholic nationalists. It protected the rights of all people of Northern Ireland, no matter what side you found yourself on. It effectively ended 30 years of violent conflict. Now, this may seem like a distant piece of history or a thing of the past, but the era of the Troubles was not that long ago, and there's still lingering tension in the region. In 2019, these headlines started surfacing again. Explosions in Derry, a string of carjackings, brazen shootings, kidnappings by paramilitary groups. A response to the likelihood of a Brexit deal. Since then, the UK has split from the European Union, taking Northern Ireland with it, leaving the Republic of Ireland stuck in the middle of this messy divorce. Take a look at this. The Republic of Ireland is still part of the European Union, making Northern Ireland now the only part of the entire UK that shares a land border with an EU country. Now, right now, this border is essentially invisible. The people of Ireland and Northern Ireland can move freely across the border, which is crucial for daily life, to visit family, to commute for work, and to trade. Brexit, however, requires checks on all goods transported between the EU and the UK. So you can see how that would be an issue here. If there was a so-called hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, then thousands of people, Catholics in particular, would be subject to checkpoints and surveillance, perhaps just to go to work or visit family as they have for years. And things could get messy again. So when finalizing the Brexit deal, it was clear there needed to be some exceptions for this divided island. Both sides agreed on the Northern Ireland Protocol, which essentially protects the Good Friday Agreement and stability in the region. Now, as I mentioned, the Troubles were not that long ago. Many of us of a certain generation grew up with the constant headlines about the deadly conflict, including UK's brand new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, a woman of many words, none of which she can actually keep. She's flip-flopped on so many policies that it's hard to know what she's going to stand for tomorrow. She supported Brits fighting in Ukraine, then she didn't. She wanted to abolish the monarchy. Now she doesn't. She was boldly anti-Brexit until she was boldly pro-Brexit. So can the world trust Liz Truss? The jury's still out on what she's going to do on Northern Ireland. This week, the White House warned Truss, don't touch the Northern Ireland Protocol. Because as a member of Parliament, Truss introduced legislation to undo that protocol, a move that would threaten a hard border between the Irelands and potentially send Northern Ireland back to those brutal times. Millions of Irish Catholics could once again face persecution, discrimination, and an erasure of their identity. Talk about trouble.